There was a summer when watching a woman slide headfirst into home plate, in a skirt, bleeding, grinning, was enough to make you want to find a glove, find a diamond, and play. A league of their own opened on July 1st, 1992, and turned women's baseball into the most quietly devastating sport in America. Geena Davis was Dottie Hinson, the best player in a league half the country didn't know existed. Too good to be fully appreciated and too loyal to act on it. Lori Petty was Kit, her younger sister, throwing heat and fury at everyone who underestimated her, starting with Dottie. Tom Hanks was Jimmy Dugan, a washed-up big leaguer handed a women's team as a consolation prize, who showed up not caring and left a better man. Madonna was Mae Mortabito, the one the league's conduct code was written for. Rosie O'Donnell was Doris, third base, no nonsense, and, as it turned out, the best athlete in the room. Directed by Penny Marshall on a $40 million budget, the film grossed $132.4 million worldwide and became Columbia Pictures' highest-grossing non-sequel opener at the time. In 2012, the Library of Congress added it to the National Film Registry. It remains the highest-grossing baseball film ever made. Today we're going 15 facts deep. The chewing gum billionaire who invented the real league as a real estate hedge, the actress who almost made the Olympics because of what this film unlocked in her, and the first draft throwaway that became the most quoted line in baseball movie history. Before we get into it, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into the films that shaped us. Let's get into the countdown with number 15. Number 15, the league that was supposed to fill empty seats. Philip K. Wrigley didn't create the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League because he believed in women's sports. He created it because he was scared his stadium would sit empty. In the fall of 1942, the War Department notified Major League Baseball that the draft might force the league to suspend play. Wrigley, who owned both the Chicago Cubs and Wrigley Field, looked at his idle ballpark and made a calculation. If the men were gone, someone had to fill those seats. So he sent scouts out across the country with a mandate that tells you everything you need to know about his intentions. Find women who could play baseball, but make sure they looked like they couldn't. The official directive was to hunt down beauty as well as playing ability. He named it the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. He nicknamed it, and this is real, the Lipstick League. He required players to attend charm school run by Helena Rubinstein. He designed skirted uniforms with his wife. He wrote conduct codes requiring lipstick on the field at all times. And then, Major League Baseball didn't actually suspend play. The men's league kept going. Wrigley's emergency plan turned out to solve a problem that never materialized. So, he lost interest. By the fall of 1944, he sold the entire enterprise to advertising executive Arthur Meyerhoff for $10,000, less than the cost of one team's startup investment. Under Meyerhoff, the league expanded from 4 teams to 10. Attendance peaked at 910,000 paid fans in a single season. Over 600 women played. It ran for 12 seasons. Wrigley got the gum, Meyerhoff got the legacy. Number 14. The skirts weren't cute. They were control. Everyone who's seen the movie knows the skirts. You see the players sliding into base, legs shredding on the dirt. Real AAGPBL players were required to wear skirted uniforms no shorter than 6 inches above the knee, appear in public with lipstick on at all times, never cut their hair short, and could be fined $5 for a first offense appearance violation, $10 for a second, and suspended for a third. After 10-hour training days, they attended Helena Rubinstein Charm School, learning posture, etiquette, how to get in and out of a car. Wrigley sent them to bed in hotel rooms, where the servants' elevator was the only option if you dared wear slacks. The injuries from sliding in skirts were called strawberries. Raw skin, shredded by the dirt, that never fully healed before the next game reopened them. And here's what the film doesn't show. The femininity rules existed in significant part to prevent the women from being perceived as lesbians. Many of the real players were gay. In at least one documented case, a player named JoJo D'Angelo was released from her contract for a butchy haircut, one she said she never even wanted that a stylist had pressured her into. A cut she didn't choose ended her career. JoJo D'Angelo never played again. A haircut she didn't ask for, on a head she owned, ended her career. She was not the only one. Number 13. She stole 201 bases and disappeared from the movie. In 1946, Sophie Kurys, nicknamed the Flint Flash, stole 201 bases in 203 attempts. That is a 99% success rate, in a skirted uniform, on dirt base paths that left strawberries on her legs every time she slid. Hold on, let me say that number again. 201 stolen bases in a single season. Her career total of 1,114 stolen bases wasn't surpassed until Rickey Henderson did it in 1994. Henderson, who many consider the greatest base stealer in Major League history, holds the MLB single-season record with 130. Kurys beat that by 71 in a skirt, on expanding base paths, without modern turf or sports medicine or dry pants. She led the league in stolen bases for 7 consecutive seasons. She was a 4-time All-Star. In the 1946 championship game, she singled, stole second, and scored the winning run in the 14th inning. The Racine Bells won the title, the fans went home, the season ended, and the film about her league never mentions her name. When the AAGPBL folded after the 1954 season, Kurys went home to Flint, Michigan. She worked, she lived quietly. The record sat in a box somewhere. Decades passed before anyone, outside of AAGPBL, historians knew her name. She gave interviews when people found her. She was gracious about it. She died in 2013 at 87 in Scottsdale, Arizona. The Baseball Hall of Fame acknowledged her 201 steals season in an exhibit that year. Rickey Henderson, for context, is in Cooperstown itself, inducted in 2009 in a ceremony with a speech. 201 in a skirt, still the record. Number 12, Fox gave away A League of Their Own. When Penny Marshall saw a 1987 PBS documentary about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, she immediately called the producers to pursue adaptation rights. She was excited. She'd never heard of the league. She wanted in. What she didn't know, the producers had already decided she was their first choice to direct. She called them. They already wanted her. The film had been 5 years in the making by that point. Documentary co-creators Kelly Candale and Kim Wilson had spent years researching the league, making the documentary, and trying to sell it. It didn't happen in a week, Wilson told ESPN. Marshall signed on. The project moved to 20th Century Fox. Fox looked at the premise, a movie about women's baseball, and passed. They didn't think it could find an audience. Columbia picked it up. The film made $132.4 million worldwide and became Columbia's highest-grossing non-sequel opener at the time, more than any non-franchise film the studio had previously released. Here's what Fox gave away. Penny Marshall had already become the first woman in history to direct a film that grossed over $100 million, with Big in 1988. A League of Their Own was the second time she did it. Fox handed that to Columbia for free because they didn't think women's baseball sounded commercial. Number 11. Rosie O'Donnell got the role because she could throw. The auditions at USC drew Courtney Cox, Cindy Crawford, Sarah Jessica Parker, Tatum O'Neal, Marissa Tomei, Brooke Shields, Kelly Preston, Elizabeth Perkins, essentially the complete roster of working actresses in early 1990s Hollywood. All of them at a baseball field, trying to throw. Most of them couldn't. Sean Young, of Blade Runner fame, arrived in an antique Yankees uniform. Glenn Headley wore ballet slippers to the tryout. Marla Maples, future wife of Donald Trump, came in full stage makeup with a sash across her chest reading Rockford Peaches. Aaron Carlson's book, No Crying in Baseball, reports that Marshall told Elizabeth Perkins she threw like a girl. Perkins did not get the part. Casting divided the hopefuls into 3 categories: athletes, trainable, and hopeless. The athletes got callbacks. The trainable ones got a second look. The hopeless ones got a polite thank you and directions to the exit. Rosie O'Donnell flew in from New York having heard the premise and thought, if there's one thing I can do better than Meryl Streep, it's play baseball. She was right. She was also, by most accounts, one of the 2 best athletes in the entire production once training began. Before the film, O'Donnell was a stand-up comedian with a few bit parts. After that, she was a movie star. By 1996, she had her own daytime talk show. It ran for 6 seasons, won multiple Daytime Emmy Awards, and made her one of the most watched people in American television. She got the part because she could throw. Meryl Streep presumably could not. Number 10. Debra Winger got paid not to play Dottie. Before Geena Davis was cast as Dottie, Debra Winger was. She spent 3 months training with the Chicago Cubs, actually training, showing up to the field every day, learning to play. She was committed. Then Penny Marshall cast Madonna. Winger quit. 4 weeks before principal photography was set to begin, she walked. She told Marshall she believed the casting would turn the film into an Elvis film. Her phrase for productions built around a pop star's persona rather than the story, where the gravity of the famous person warps everything else in the frame. The studio agreed with me, Winger told The Telegraph, because it was the only time I ever collected a pay or play on my contract. In other words, I collected my pay even though I did not play, and that's very hard to get in court. She was paid her full salary for a film she didn't make, her assessment of the finished movie. As entertaining as it was, you don't walk away going, wow, those women did that. You kind of go, is that true? Her assessment of Madonna's acting? I think her acting career has spoken for itself. The film grossed $132 million. It was selected for the National Film Registry. Geena Davis got a Golden Globe nomination for the role Winger left behind. She was right about everything. It didn't matter. Number 9, Tom Hanks was the anonymous set gossip. During production in Evansville, Indiana, a mysterious newsletter began circulating on set. It was called Peach Fuzz. It covered, according to the book No Crying in Baseball by Aaron Carlson, things like late nights on set, Geena Davis's surprising cigarette habit, and Madonna's off-screen social life. Nobody knew who wrote it. It circulated for months. Cast members read it, passed it around, and speculated. The author was eventually revealed, Tom Hanks, the man who spent the summer deliberately gaining 30 pounds on Burger King and Dairy Queen. Penny Marshall's instructions were simple. I can't have you cute, was also the set's anonymous gossip columnist. Hanks invented his character's entire backstory himself. Dugan blew out his knee during a late-night misadventure. That's why he wasn't at war. That's why he ended up managing the Peaches. Marshall used it without changing a word. America's most trusted man. Meanwhile, Madonna was waking every morning at 4 a.m., jogging 8 to 10 miles before anyone else arrived, then practicing baseball before cameras rolled. By every account, she was the most physically disciplined person on the entire production. She was also, by every account, the most difficult. Rude to the nearly 1,700 unpaid extras baking in the heat, while Hanks and O'Donnell signed autographs between takes and put on puppet shows to keep them entertained. The most beloved man in America was the anonymous set gossip. The most notorious diva on set was also the hardest worker. That was Indiana in the summer of 1991. Number 8, the line nobody knew would become a classic. Screenwriters Lowell Gans and Babaloo Mandel wrote There's No Crying in Baseball in the first draft. It had one job: illustrate the cultural distance between Jimmy Dugan's world and the world of women he'd been dropped into. During read-throughs, Hanks said later, the line never scored much. Nobody reacted. Good joke, clean, in character. But it didn't announce itself. When they filmed the scene, something changed. Biddy Schramm, playing Evelyn Gardner, fell apart, dissolved into real tears and humiliation. That gave Hanks permission to escalate. He called it going DEFCON 5. He kept going, building past what the page said. Penny Marshall used all of it. In 2005, the AFI ranked the line 54th on its list of the 100 greatest movie quotes. The Writers Guild requested the original handwritten script page for their headquarters. At MLB games today, it plays on jumbotrons during rain delays. Geena Davis. I didn't know that was going to be a classic. That line is a signature, right up there with Hasta la vista, baby. Gans. It's a first draft scene, first draft dialogue. The line that defined the film was a throwaway. Its authors didn't notice it. Its actor didn't expect it. The audience made it immortal. Number 7. Columbia wanted a kiss. The women said no. Columbia. Pictures looked at the finished cut and issued a note. You have 2 of the most attractive movie stars in America in this film, and they never kiss. Fix it. Nobody who made the film wanted to fix it. Her husband is fighting a war, screenwriter Babalu Mandel said later. No, no, don't do it. Marshall didn't want it. The writers didn't want it. They were overruled. A scene was written and shot. Dottie and Jimmy, alone on the pitcher's mound at night, ending in a kiss. Then additional scenes, the aftermath, the awkward apology, the tension carrying through the rest of the film. The studio got what they asked for. It was a different movie, a smaller one. Two things killed it. First, test audiences. The romance was screened. The scores came back low. Audiences didn't want Jimmy and Dottie. They wanted Dottie and Kit, the Peaches, the team. Second, and this is the part that doesn't get talked about, the real AAGPBL players were serving as on-set advisors, physically present during production. When word got around about the kiss, they were furious. According to co-star Megan Cavanagh, the veterans were direct. We were not involved with coaches. That was not the case. The women the film was built to honor were standing 30 feet from the camera, and they said no. Columbia's demand died twice. Once in a test screening, once from the people who'd actually lived the story. The women won both times. Number 6. The role that turned Geena Davis into an athlete. When Geena Davis was called to meet Penny Marshall about A League of Their Own, her agents gave her explicit instructions. Do not throw a baseball at this meeting. You have no athletic background. You'll embarrass yourself and lose the part. Davis arrived in high heels and a miniskirt. Within 5 minutes, Marshall had her on the lawn throwing a baseball. She was, by her own account, terrible. Marshall watched her for a moment and delivered a verdict: trainable. Davis got the part on that single word. Her agents, when they heard, were not thrilled. What followed was 7.5 months of training, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. I assumed I was uncoordinated, she told ESPN. I was always so tall and awkward. That changed my life, learning how to play a sport. It made me feel like it was okay to take up space in the world. In 1996, she watched the Atlanta Olympics on television and became obsessed with archery. She hired a coach. She started at 41. She trained for 2 years. In July 1999, she was one of 300 women competing for a spot in the U.S. Olympic trial semifinals. She made the cut. Then, in the semifinals, she finished 24th out of 28. The top 16 advanced. She missed the Olympics by 8 places. She was 43 years old. She'd started from nothing 2 years earlier. The movie about a woman who could play changed the woman who played her. Number 5, the studio wanted a sequel. The story was over. After A League of Their Own made $132 million, Columbia wanted more. Reasonable. The writers had an idea, not a sequel about the women, a prequel about Jimmy Dugan, his career before the AAGPBL, why he washed out, what the war years cost him. And in the final act, a season just after Jackie Robinson integrated the majors, where Dugan manages a men's team and gives an aging black player one last shot at the game. Tom Hanks was interested. Columbia paid for the script. It was written. Then Columbia said no. They wanted the Rockford Peaches back, the whole ensemble. What did they all do next? The writers had nothing. We put our characters where we want them to be, Gans said. The story is over. Geena Davis had her own idea, a film called A Little League of Their Own, set in the 1950s, where Dottie watches her sons play in a little league that won't let a girl join. Nobody made that either. The studio that proved women could open a $132 million film couldn't figure out how to make a second one. The writers walked away. Hanks moved on. The Peaches were shelved without ceremony. The sequel Columbia rejected, the one with Hanks, Jackie Robinson, and a real story worth telling, is the one worth mourning. Number 4. The audition that made Madonna and Rosie best friends. Before production began, Penny Marshall called Rosie O'Donnell into her office. She got straight to it. Madonna is coming in to audition. If she likes you, and if she likes me, maybe she'll do the movie. Don't be nervous. O'Donnell was, of course, immediately nervous. She had no idea how to connect with the most famous woman in popular music. When Madonna arrived, something unexpected happened. O'Donnell mentioned that her mother had died when she was 10, that she's named after her mother, and her mother's name is on O'Donnell's own gravestone. Madonna's mother died when Madonna was 5. We bonded over our dead mothers, O'Donnell later told The Hollywood Reporter. That was it. 2 people who seemed to have nothing in common found the one thing they shared. And it turned out to be grief. They've been best friends for over 30 years. They call each other Ro and Mo. During production, O'Donnell would come out in front of the 1,700 extras between takes and sing Madonna songs badly until Madonna told her to stop. The next day, she'd come back and do Vogue. She did this every single day. Madonna eventually stopped asking her to stop. O'Donnell's daughter grew up calling Madonna a beautiful lady named Mo without knowing who she was. During the Trump years, Madonna flew back from a remote island when she heard O'Donnell was in trouble. 2 women, 1 audition. Both of them had lost their mothers young. That's all it took. Number 3. Dorothy Kamenshek was the real Dottie. Dorothy Kamenshek played first base for the Rockford Peaches. Wally Pipp, the Yankees' first baseman Lou Gehrig replaced, watched her and called her the fanciest fielding first baseman I've ever seen, man or woman. She won the batting title twice. She struck out 81 times across 3,736 career at-bats. By any measure, she was the best player in the league. In 1950, a men's minor league team in Fort Lauderdale tried to buy her contract. The AAGPBL's own president, Fred Leo, refused. His public statement, "Rockford couldn't afford to lose her. I also told them that we felt that women should play among themselves and that they could not help but appear inferior in athletic competition with men." Kamenshek turned the offer down anyway. "I thought at that time it would just be a publicity stunt," she said, "and they wouldn't let me play." She was correct on both counts. She retired in 1953 with a back injury, enrolled at Marquette University, earned a physical therapy degree, and eventually became director of the Los Angeles County Children's Services Department. The 1992 film named its lead character Dottie in her honor. She was still alive. She saw it. She died in 2010 at 84. The best player in the league never said she was. Other people did. She just played baseball. Number 2. The forgotten player whose son made the story famous. Helen Callahan played 5 seasons in the AAGPBL from 1944 to 1949. She won the 1945 batting title, hitting .299. She was fast enough that they called her the feminine Ted Williams, not for power, for contact and speed. She stole over 100 bases twice. She was one of the best players in the league, and she knew it, and she didn't talk about it much after 1954. After it all ended in 1954, she went home. She raised 5 sons in California. She told her boys about what she'd done. They mostly didn't pay attention. Then, one afternoon in the mid-1960s, at a Little League powder puff game where the mothers were supposed to play a joke exhibition for the husbands, Helen stepped up to the plate and showed everyone something they weren't expecting. Her son Kelly was watching. He saw it. "My mother just clearly demonstrated athletic ability that was beyond most of the men who were laughing at the women throwing like girls," he told MLB.com. That was the moment he understood. He started paying attention. Kelly Candale spent years researching the AAGPBL, made a documentary in 1987, and the documentary found its way to Penny Marshall. The film followed. It grossed $107 million domestically. It knocked Batman Returns off the top of the box office charts. It preserved the names in the league for everyone who came after. Helen Callahan saw the finished film before she died. She died of breast cancer in December 1992, 5 months after the film came out, 4 months after it was number 1. She got there. She got to see what a Little League afternoon had started. Number 1, the film that made baseball remember them. The All-American Girls. Professional Baseball League ran from 1943 to 1954. At its height in 1948, 10 teams drew 910,000 paid fans in a single season. More than 600 women played professional baseball over 12 years. They slid in skirts. They played doubleheaders on Sundays. They visited wounded veterans in Army hospitals between games. They were extraordinary athletes, and for a decade, a significant portion of the Midwest knew their names. When the men came home and TV arrived and the money dried up, the league folded after the 1954 season. And then, nothing. No celebration, no Hall of Fame ceremony, no acknowledgement. The women who'd played professional baseball went back to farms and factories and hospitals and schools. Some of them kept their uniforms, some didn't. When they told people what they'd done, they were often not believed. Decades passed. Some of them stopped talking about it. It became easier than explaining something that had been erased. In the 1980s, the surviving players started finding each other at reunions. They wanted to be remembered. Kelly Candle made the documentary. Penny Marshall made the film. And in the final scene of A League of Their Own, 65 of the original players appeared as themselves at a Hall of Fame ceremony. Not as extras, not as background, as themselves, being honored, being seen. The woman who looks at Dottie and says, the best player in the league, that's Dolores Pickles Drees, a real Rockford Peach, pitcher from 1952 to 1954. She's not playing a character. She's telling the truth to a camera about women she played with, in a sport she played. The film about women who were forgotten is the reason they aren't. That's not a theme. That's what happened. And there you have it. 15 facts about A League of Their Own. Which fact hit hardest? And which ones did we miss? Let us know in the comments below, and tell us which film we should wade into next. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss the next one. Until next time.